By the way, thank you for that question. It's a good question, even if we are laughing. And that is where most parents today find themselves. So let me share this briefly. These are additional thoughts, and based on all that we've heard and what Lucy just spoke. One is I take parenting as leadership. That's the most important job you're going to have as a family, bringing up your children. So, and leadership is, I'm not a Democrat, and I personally believe there is no democracy in this. It's influence. When we are talking about family meetings and you're discussing and picking their ideas, which is a good thing, but they won't dictate what is bad. How many people agree that we will be taking pizza every day, kila mtu ameinua mkono, then you say, okay, majority have ruled. No, nothing like that. It's it's influence. So don't play democracy. Remember, the vision you have is for people who are responsible and people who are dependable. I love that part, dependability. I love saying that, you know, first and foremost, our role is to become independent so that we don't become bother to somebody else, to our parents, to our community. We are always a problem. Yeah? Mtu akiona simu yako hataki kushika. Now, next, we become dependable. We become independent, and then we grow to the level of being dependable. People can comfortably depend on you. They can call you. They know you have some solution to them. So you want to grow your children to be people who are not only independent, but dependable. And this cannot happen through democracy. So that strict traditional type of upbringing is quite a good one. And all of us have background. I also, like Lucy said, I have a background. My dad was very rough, that bully, that person who, when he's in, you don't sit on the chair, you go sit on the floor, you go out. You can't speak, you can't let your eyes meet. You are always a suspect. You are on the wrong by default. And there is no court. Nobody will prove you right any particular day. So that, if you are brought up in such an environment, you might tend to be on the other extreme, submissive, because you're trying to repel the background that you grew up in. Remember last week when we were talking, when we were talking about finances, we also touched on background. So how we are brought up can form our reasoning, and by the end of the day, even how we treat our children. I remember when we were in college, some people kept saying, you know, we started discussing these things earlier. Some people were saying, mimi vile nimeteseka, I won't allow my child to suffer. Anything they want, wakitaka gari na mnunulia kama niko. So, well, that's one way to live. But by the end of the day, you will suffer from it. Because we are told if you don't parent your children properly, you're likely to parent their children for them, because they will not be able to take care of their children. The other day, Edna was telling me about her former colleague who has children in their late 20s. But because the lady was retiring, the children are rebelling that now how will they live? Yeah, she's been paying for them rent outside. And you wonder, what type of parenting is this? Somebody is an adult and you're still struggling to pay them rent. And when you want to leave a job so that you start resting, you start relaxing, they are the people who are on strike now. How do you expect them to live? You tell them, okay, you can't pay your rent, come live with me. They also don't want to come. So parenting is a tricky thing, and you better be sure what type of children you want to bring. You want them to learn to earn things and qualify for them. Last week we heard about some of you who you could not be given something before you qualify for it. You are looking for this, they ask you to do this so that you qualify for this. So that people know that things are not just given or handed. Gifts are good, but not always. You can't depend on gifts. And so you will not blame anybody. You cannot start blaming all your uncles, all your aunties who didn't do this, whatever. You learn to earn. So you want to bring children like that. You want to make them independent. And I learned this more so when I saw in our village some people who are orphans and they were not able to take care of themselves. Yeah, another member of our village was living in Mombasa, and he died, and so the family had to come home. But these children could not cope back at home. They did not know how to, they were not independent. They had to go look for some other people to live with in town in Mombasa, and only one managed to adapt the condition and cope. And it became a very important thing. Building people who are independent, who can cope, and more so who are resilient. They are able to face life. Today you hear people who are committing suicide. Children, young people, they can't cope with the pressure. It becomes a big problem. So we must build in them that ability to cope, that ability to face troubles and be able to overcome them. And that's why that permissive nature is the reason today we have problems like this one here. You see, people are talking about this is where our society is heading to. So today or yesterday, US managed to elect their transgender, trans, whatever. You see, those are the things that Lucy was talking about. And now they are celebrating the LGBT thing. Say this, Mark, whatever, 30 has worked as press, whatever, secretary for LGBTQ advocacy and all this. And now see what she's saying. I don't know whether he or she, but this is what the guy is saying. I hope tonight shows an LGBTQ kid that our democracy is big enough for them too. Now, in other words, by the end of the day, I don't know whether we will form part of that nuclear family that we are talking about, but this is what Dr. was saying. You send people there early, they go bring in certain cultures, and so we do not have a family culture. And by the end of the day, you get that your son got another boy there, and now it's a democracy. So there is no democracy in parenting. There is, you inculcate these values from childhood so that they know this is not the way we live, this is not the way people live. And it only works when you also tell them that there are such people outside there who will say those are the things and try to give them such orthodox information. So if you start this early and you see them grow, and this is why last week we were saying, sometimes it takes some sacrifice. You know, we are in a modern world where people spend time making money, and you want to compensate with all the toys and all the outings and holidays because you're not there. And some people send their children to boarding school in nursery, in class 1, in class 2, class 4. Then you wonder at what point. You see, so if you send them that early because money is not a problem, money is what you're making, you're always busy. Let me tell you, you retire and you realize that the person you have is not the child you thought you have. So it's not a foreign thing, but don't aim to be such a parent. Just be in their life, inculcate these values, have some regular discussions. We do have at least once a week, but we do have a lot of other things that we do. We discuss together and to influence the development and the psychology. For example, we have Saturdays we read the Bible, we read a chapter. Yeah, we've been reading very many books. Sundays, after in the evening, after discussing what we learned in church, we also discuss. Everyone contributes what they learned. Then we can bring a topic of discussion and we make a decision. It might appear to be democratic, but it's not really democratic. It's being influenced, and that is the opportunity to judge. That is the opportunity to guide. That the reason we don't want to do this every day, it's because of the following. How do you keep your health? How do you keep your grades in school well? How do you accomplish this goal and things like that? So parenting is leadership, and it's the most important of it all. And we cannot do it hands-free. Yeah, leadership is never hands-free. You might drive hands-free, I think. You might do autopiloting, but not parenting and not leadership. Yeah, and by the way, the other problem is we may bring our professions. Yes, if you're a doctor, you know, for example, doctors, everyone listens to a doctor. The doctor said, so you might expect children to just listen. Yeah, you don't listen to them. It's good to listen to them. Yeah, I'm just saying doctor because we have a doctor. Yeah, you can be a police officer. It is discipline. What you say is law. No, that also doesn't work well. Yeah, just listening to their perspective and teaching them towards the right thing. Teaching is a noble role.